This is a podcast about our lived experience, which unfortunately includes infant death and subsequent mental health struggles. Please take good care of yourself and only listen if this content feels safe for you right now. We'll still be here when you're ready.
Hi, I'm Judith.
And I'm Alina. We are internet friends turned real-life friends who both experienced the tragic loss of our sons to sudden infant death syndrome in winter of 2021.
In the year after Aiden died, my husband and I both became unemployed. My parents divorced, and we had to move 5 times for various reasons.
And as for me, just a few weeks before my son Quinn died, my then husband had come out to me as a transgender woman and were subsequently divorcing.
It's been a lot.
It's been a lot.
But as long as we're living, we will love our sons deeply and work to make sure that we live a life that makes them proud.
Welcome to As Long As I'm Living podcast.
We're so glad you're here.
Judith, I am a disaster.
I know, and it makes me feel good because I feel like recently I've been the one who's always like forgetting that we have these recordings and showing up late and
Well, here I am. I am a mess.
I know, but you had a facial, so do you feel a little better?
I feel so much better after the facial. I really
You just
do.
needed some self-care.
I think I need about 100 times more self-care than I just received from the spa. Honestly, I think I'm in a hole that self-care can't dig me out of. I think I just got to move through it. But the self-care helps.
I think you need probably 2 or 3 days of doing nothing and just lying in bed.
Yes.
You'll feel better, but you really didn't get you. It was like the weekend was your time to recharge, except you had the opposite of recharging.
That's right.
And so now you're in a deficit.
Yes, I'm in a deficit. That's right. Thank you.
You're welcome. You are in a deficit.
To give our listeners a little insight into what's been going on with me. So I've had kind of a busy, hard week. Some good things, some bad things. The first bad thing was that I encountered a Mother's Day display, and that kind of set me off. Mother's Day is a complicated holiday for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people have lost mothers. A lot of people have complicated relationships with their moms. People are trying to get pregnant and can't. And then obviously, in our community, we have children and we've lost children. So it's very painful. There's also the LGBT community where, just difficulty surrounding their relationship to these very gendered holidays. And, that plays out in my life a little bit on the periphery. I wasn't prepared for that. I knew Mother's Day was coming, but I didn't see it on the horizon. It just kind of like smacked me in the face,
You weren't prepared.
I was not prepared. So that happened.
And I was going to say, and you went to a wedding this weekend.
Yeah, I went to a wedding this weekend and it was so beautiful. You guys on this podcast have heard me talk about my friend Leah, my wonderful, wonderful friend Leah, who I adore. She got married a couple days ago on Saturday, and it was a beautiful wedding, a beautiful ceremony. They're so in love. I'm so happy for them, and I'm miserable.
Yeah. Well, I know that I've talked about this before, but like I feel like our people are the graveyard people, not the like happy people. And so sometimes it feels like so much effort to be with the happy people because it takes so much for me to externally be excited. You know what I mean? Like, put me in a funeral and I will be the most comfortable. I will be the best. You want me at your funeral. I will be kick ass. I know what to say. I know what to do. I know how to act. But then you like put me in a wedding and I feel so out of place.
Yeah.
I just feel uncomfortable.
You were saying recently you've been talking to somebody who recently had a stillbirth and you said, it feels so good. I know what to say.
It does feel good to
and
know
we live in a society where people don't talk about loss. We don't talk about baby loss at all. And so Judith and I both kind of feel like we've been given this gift of we were able to help people who are experiencing this. And it feels so nice to have that skill. But what we've lost is the skill to be around normal, happy people like that. Those skills you can't have both, I think.
Right. No, I think it's well, okay, hold on, pause for a minute. I think we can dive into this a touch more, because it's kind of like when, you tell people, I'm so happy for you, that means that you have enough happiness in your heart. Not only do you have enough to store for yourself, but you have enough to share with someone else. Like, their joy is spurring more joy in your heart. It's overflowing.
That's right.
And I think I know that when people say, I know this is so difficult, I'm thinking about you, I feel for you. What they're saying is, I feel so much sadness in my heart that I am holding a piece of your sadness. I'm giving you, and I'm feeling your sadness. I'm taking it in. I have a lot of space in my heart to feel other people's sadness right now. Like, I have a lot of space in my heart to hold it, but I don't have a full cup of happiness. And so to generate more, to say, I'm so happy for you, to be able to feel so happy that I can partake and take a piece of yours. And, I don't have that. I can't share right now in joy in the way that I can with sadness. And I think that's another loss.
That's that's a really good way to put it. That's a really good way to put it. Like, so I'll give you an example. Like, at weddings, there's, people are seeing people they haven't seen in a long time. There's so much excitement to be around, old family members, old friends, and everybody's, getting together and taking photos. And, we walked into the reception and Kaylee and I took a picture with our dead son's photo on the dead people table.
Right.
Like, that's who we were like reunited with and taking a picture with at our wedding, was our dead kid at the memorial table, which first of all, I want to just like really make super clear that it was a beautiful way to include Quinn in the day. I'm so grateful to Leah and Tim for including Quinn. They asked if that was okay. We both said yes. I'm so happy they did that. That said, it was a gut punch to see him there because he was a little baby among a bunch of older people. Like, wow, was that tragic? It was a gut punch every single time I watched somebody go up to the table and see a baby and gasp. And I don't want that to be who I'm taking pictures with at the wedding.
Also, there's a lot of small talk.
Yes.
And like, what are you going to do? You see people you haven't seen in 5 years and they're going to be like, oh my God, what have you been up to?
Can I say like one other thing that was like really painful was I was overhearing all these conversations of like small talk and everybody being like, oh, what's up? I haven't seen you since so-and-so's wedding. Like, oh, like what's new with you? Like, and my friend got this sweet puppy who is so cute, but she was like, oh, can you believe the puppy is 7 months old now? And I thought, oh my God, her dog is older than my dead child.
Her dog is older than your dead child. But I also find it funny that like, what do you, I don't know. But like, I got a puppy. Well, I got a baby, but then
the baby died. They weren't talking to me, to be clear. They know my whole deal, but I was just overhearing it among other people.
And I think, okay, so that's also one thing. And then, I mean, you lost your relationship also this year. And so to be in a space where there are people getting married and love, like that's triggering too. So I think that you were triggered from all sides. Like,
I really was. I would be lying if I said this was only about the baby. It definitely, I think honestly what it was is I was prepared for the sadness around Quinn, and I really was seeing his ghost everywhere. I was less prepared for the sadness about my marriage, and honestly I miss the innocence of the person who went to weddings and believed that they were going to be together forever always. And I do believe that Leah and Tim are going to be together forever, but there's a piece of me that I just miss the person who wasn't jaded about it. And it's painful. It's painful to have gone through a wedding ceremony, all of that, to have believed with all my heart at the time that that was going to be it for me. I was so happy, and seeing them so happy, I'm like, oh, like, it's just like, I don't even know what to say about it. I think everybody probably understands what I'm saying. There's no part of me that has any doubts about their relationship. Truly, they're
but this
wonderfully
has
happy.
nothing to do with them. I mean, Leanne, this has nothing to do with them. This has to do with you.
Right.
They are gonna, like sometimes I think this when I see other people, like they're gonna be fine. Alina, they get to be happy. They get to have their happily ever after. They don't need your empathy because they have a family and you do not. So they won the game.
They won. And I lost. Boy, did I lose.
You lost.
Right. Let me just tell you though, too, like I'm actively working on in therapy right now, like the idea of moving on and being in a serious relationship again. So like I think I have a lot of wounds open right now the Mother's Day wound, the relationship wound, and I think it was kind of just a perfect storm. And I've really been suffering the last week. I've really been suffering the last week. Like it's been pretty bad. So,
What are you going to do to self-care tomorrow?
well, really what I should do is take off of work and do nothing. But here's the
That's
other
what
thing, Judith. Last
Yeah.
night I left work early and I got home and I was extremely distressed because I had way too many hours to fill. Like I was like desperate for like a baby to take care of. You know what I mean? Like I was really feeling just like what a waste of a person I am. And
know
I
that
know,
feeling so well.
nobody needs to be like, Alina, you're not a waste of a person, blah, blah, blah. Like I
No,
felt like a waste of a person.
I know that feeling. I know
Yeah.
that feeling.
Like,
You know what helps me when I feel that feeling?
mm,
Like building something or like painting something or planting something, like
yeah.
nurturing something, like creating something. So it's like, oh, I'm not just like a waste of a person. Like I add value. I like added something to the world. Like
You
you
know,
needed a purpose.
to your point, I did play the piano for like 20 minutes and I did feel some relief after that. So that's a really good. I think that's probably for that reason.
It just sucks. I just know how it feels.
Yeah.
It's just really hard.
Yeah. And I think like not everybody wants children, but as someone who has always wanted children and is 31, I should be having a child to take care of right now. Like setting aside the fact that my child died, like even if I didn't have all of that, I would already be feeling like, oh my gosh, like what am I supposed to do with my hands? Like I should be tending to my child because that's something that I want. Not everybody wants it, but I do. Then, of course, you add in the layer of I should have an 18-month-old just like careening around the house, making like messes everywhere and, should be changing diapers and all of that. My time in these past couple of days where I have felt so overwhelmed with kind of the bad feelings, it's just been I've been so acutely aware of the lack of someone to take care of
Yeah.
besides myself. I feel like I have no direction. That's not
Oh,
true in normal times, but I do feel that right now.
you know what you would tell me?
What?
You would say to me, that makes sense, but it doesn't always feel this way. That's what you always say.
That
Like
is what I would say.
That's how you feel this week. And like, I understand why you feel that this week. It makes a lot of sense to me, but not every week is this bad. Not every
Yeah.
day is bad. This feeling, one of the reasons why I think this feeling is so hard is because you don't feel it every day.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you you're not a waste of space. And like, it doesn't matter what I think. What matters is like that you feel that way. And I have so felt that way. Oh, God, there's so many times where I get into bed at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock and I'm like, nothing to do for hours.
Hours. Yeah.
Hours. How many times can I watch Johnny Depp's trial? How many
Judith,
times can
I've seen all the documentaries. There's
You've
none
seen
left.
all the documentaries? There's none left. You've seen all of them. Or like how much news can I watch on Russia? Like not that much. I like just there's empty hours. So many empty hours.
Yeah.
It just I know that feeling so well where I'm like acutely aware of the fact that I want my life to look differently.
That's right. Yeah.
I want my life to look differently. I think it would be helpful to you if you plan some sort of self-care tomorrow.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea for sure. I got to think about what it is because I'm really feeling.
Why don't you go to that foot massage place?
Here's what I was just about to say. Every single time I leave my house, I'm bombarded with Mother's Day shit. And when I was at the spa today, it was bad, Judith.
Maybe someone come to your house.
It's worth a shot.
Yeah. Have something in your house or maybe get a different candle, a new candle.
Yeah.
Do a bubble bath.
Oh, yeah. I should take a bath. I should take a bubble bath.
Sometimes I find that changing my physical surroundings in some ways helps me change my mental surroundings. Like I'll put on makeup and I'll get dressed. And sometimes that helps, or I'll change the smell in the room, or I'll change the lighting in the room.
Yeah, I do
I
feel
don't
like
know.
lighting and like smell changes with candles, but
Just like changes the vibe.
yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Last week you had such a good week.
I know how the mighty have fallen.
Yes, this is why people don't want to lose their babies, Alina.
Yeah. If anybody's considering it, I don't recommend it. 0 out of 5 stars, negative 500 out of 5 stars.
I think that you and I both kind of like lost. I don't know. I feel like we both kind of we lost direction this week.
Let's talk about your week, because you also, like, I feel like you and I haven't been in as close contact. You had Passover, so we weren't talking.
Yeah, I had Passover, and it was really hard because my sister and her family came for Passover. And she has a son that's a couple months older than Aiden, and it was really hard.
Yeah.
It was so hard.
Talk about ghosts. Like, that's about as explicit a ghost as you can get.
And he was in my house touching our things, and like he was just, it's not personal. It has nothing to do with him,
Yeah.
Just this idea that like he exists, he walks, he has a relationship with his parents, he eats food, he like all these things, and it's hard to see. And on top of that, like Passover is such a family holiday, and like we took family pictures. One benefit of my parents getting divorced is that my family is never like all together again. So I don't have the situation where it's like, oh, everyone is here except for Aiden. It's like no one is, there's never a scenario where they're all here at the table.
Yeah.
Which is a blessing. But they took pictures, all the cousins. And Aiden wasn't there. And my niece and nephew had a debate at the table about how many people are in my family. Is it 5? Me, my husband, my son, my daughter, and my dog? Or is it 3? Just me, my husband, and my daughter. Like there was like this debate at the table between my niece and nephew. And
because Rosie's a dog and Aiden's dead.
Right. There's 3 people in my family. And I understand they're just kids and they're processing, but part of being around kids who are processing is they just like say things and they don't even realize that it could be hard.
Yeah.
And that was really hard and painful. And I don't know, like it was so hard for me to see my nephew with my sister. It was hard for me to see how much he loves her and how he didn't want to leave her arms. And just, I think I forget sometimes what I'm missing because I don't see it, and because we don't have other children, so we don't know. But like if constantly there's a reminder that this kid can walk and crawl and say a word, and it's like a constant reminder of what I'm missing.
Yeah.
And it's really painful, and it took a lot out of me. And I think it just reinforced this idea that I've said so many times, but I really want to talk about it again, which is that babies don't replace babies. I had a baby in my arms and I held on to her so tightly, but I missed my son just as much.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you had to go to the service for.
Yeah, I had to go to the service for people who, there's like a little service for those who are passed. And the way it works is if you haven't lost an immediate family member, then you leave the room, because it's really only for people who've lost children, parents, or siblings. And so everyone in the synagogue was like 50, 60, like older people, because they had lost parents. And I was the youngest person, and my sister was sitting next to me for the service. And then when it was time for the one to honor the deceased, she got up and she left and took her kids to the child programming. And I had to stay in and say this, this beautiful blessing for my son, which I think is a nice idea. But it's so painful to like watch someone that you felt like your life was maybe in lockstep with theirs, and then theirs turns right and yours makes it
thrown over a bridge.
Yeah. And and it's like I think what's hard about it is because I can choose typically to participate or not participate in these activities. Like I can choose to ignore the fact that other people live a different reality. But when it's your sibling and it is your family, it's like, how can I hide from my own family? Like it's impossible. If I want a relationship with my nieces and nephews, if I want a relationship with my sister, she cannot leave her 1-year-old at home.
Right.
It's like I have to choose between seeing something that's painful for me and something that feels good for me, which is having a relationship with my nieces and nephews and my sister and her family. I don't get both anymore. I no longer get to just have good feelings. It's like they're all tinged with pain.
Yeah. I mean, that's like this wedding too. Like I was so happy to be there. I was genuinely so happy to be there. I was so happy to see my friends. I was so happy to see how happy Leah and Tim were and to be a witness to their beautiful wedding and their marriage. But it's hard.
It's hard.
Again, that's what I was saying. Like, I wish I could be someone who is all happy at a wedding. I wish you could be someone who's all happy around your nieces and nephews.
Right. The challenge with something like child loss is that you lose that relationship, but everyone else gets to move forward with theirs.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like I have to watch my sister with her son and my friends with their children. And I have to watch that relationship continue and develop and develop and develop. And you stay in the same spot with no way to relate. Well, I'll give you another example. She asked me, where is the park that kids go to? And I said, I don't know. It's not like I had, and she said, what do you mean you don't know? I was like, I don't have alive park age children, so I do not know where kids go to the park. I think there's just a world of knowledge you just don't know that everyone around you seems to know. And I think I feel left out. It's like, one, it hurts, but I also feel like my peers moved on without me and I'm stuck in the same spot. I know your friends don't have as many kids, so it's slightly different, but it's like a really shitty feeling. It feels like everyone's invited to the party and you're not invited. Everyone else knows the pediatricians. Everyone else knows where the park is. Everyone else, they all get invited to like play groups and they all get invited. There's like this whole social world that comes around being a parent that I dipped my toe in and then was never invited to again.
Yeah. I mean, I felt that a little bit when Julie and Scott came to visit with their baby, who she is 9 months old now. And so she's like eating real food and everything. And of course, Quinn only ever had milk, breast milk. So we were out to brunch and I was like, can I let her try one of these potatoes? And they like looked at each other and I could tell they were like deciding. And then they were like, okay. And then like, Scott like took some of the outside off because it had like salt on it or whatever. And like in my mind, I would have just like given it to her.
Yeah.
And I think there's just things that when you have a baby, or when you have a child who's continuing to live, you continue to learn things.
Yeah.
And my knowledge of babies stops at 3 months and 27 days.
Yes. And I can imagine if I had a stillborn, it's like you're a mother, but you don't have any knowledge about caring for an alive baby.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that being really painful too.
Yeah.
I think it's hard probably for people who are extroverts like myself. I think that social component, it's hard to feel like you're falling behind your friends. It's hard to feel like everyone else is moving to like first grade, second grade, and you're stuck in pre-K.
For me, it's interesting you say that because for me, it's not the moving on. It's I don't like to not be the one who knows the most about something. Like, I don't want to say I'm a know-it-all, but like I always was like the one people would come to for advice.
Yeah.
And now I'm not.
Yeah. For me, because I am like really social and it matters to me that I'm included in like social things. Just hurts not to know where the park is, like to not be invited to the park, even though I don't want to go to the park and I probably would never go to the park, but like no one invites me to go to the park. No one invites me to go to the park.
I said something to you over text and we've talked about this a bunch, but I really feel like the theme of what we're talking about right now, which by the way, we had no plan for what we were going to talk about today. We're just rambling. I really feel like the theme of what we're talking about is like, I think people who haven't had a loss like this assume that the hardest days are the saddest days. And actually, a lot of the time, it's the normal and the happy days that are really hard. They catch you
Yeah.
off guard. They really catch you off guard. The ones that are supposed to be happy are sometimes the worst.
Yes. Without a doubt, the happy days are way harder.
Yeah.
Way harder. That's why holidays are so hard.
I mean, when you gave birth, it was so hard. You missed Aiden so much. Of course you did.
When I think about my birth with Aiden and my birth with my daughter, it makes me sad because I was so happy when he was born and I was so sad when she was born.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just another loss we have.
Yeah, it's just more.
We don't get to be normal.
We don't get to be normal. So that has been hard. That's why I think I've been a little MIA this past week, dealing with my family being in town. And my in-laws are coming to town this week. And that's, no one got to meet Aiden because of COVID and because he was alive for such a short time. And so like every time that this baby meets another family member, it makes me like sad that Aiden didn't get to meet that family member. I'm sad that I don't have my memory of my nephew with Aiden. I get sad about that. So it's like, these are like we said, these are joyous moments, but they're tinged with sadness. This actually reminds me of a Jewish tradition. If you don't mind, you'll give me a moment to indulge myself.
Please share so I can add it to my list of things that I know that I shouldn't know.
Did I talk about this at Jewish weddings? So do you know how they smash the glass?
Of course.
Okay, do you know what that's for?
No.
Okay, so the reason that we smash the glass is to symbolize the destruction of the temple thousands and thousands of years ago, which is like an abstract idea because we don't really know what a temple is now. But the point is that there was like this massacre of Jews that were exiled and besieged and killed in a million different ways. And to remember that horrific event, we smash the glass as a symbol of something breaking and shattering, because even on our happiest and most joyous days, we're still a little sad that happened. And that's why we smash the glass. And it's kind of a solemn moment. I mean, traditionally, it's you take a moment and they sing this song about how we've been exiled from our land, and then they smash the glass. And the whole point is just to remember the sad, that even when we're happy, we're also a little bit sad. And I don't think I really related to it until Aiden died. And now I really get it. Like,
that's really beautiful. I think you should have smashed a glass in the delivery room.
Would have been like a big hit, I'm sure. But I do think that moment, like maybe this is what I would say. Maybe the way to integrate this loss into our lives is to say, like, I'm so happy, but I'm also so sad. Like, can anyone else sit with me? Like, can we take a moment to be so sad and like acknowledge that this is really sad and hard, as opposed to having to put on a happy face?
Yeah.
I think sometimes that feels more comfortable than just trying to like plow through and smile.
Yeah.
I find that what happens to me is I get really withdrawn.
Mm-hmm.
I just get quiet. I don't think I spoke very much this holiday. Like, I just kind of got quiet because I was sad.
Yeah. It's hard to be sad when everyone else is happy.
It's hard to be sad when everyone else is happy.
Well, on that note, where this is going to be coming out on May 2nd, which is the day after. So yesterday was Bereaved Mother's Day, and 6 days from now, at the time this episode's coming out, is Mother's Day. So I guess I just want to say to everyone listening, if this is a really hard time for you, we see you. It's really hard for us too. We are feeling it along with you. So, it's brutal.
To all of our wonderful new friends, we want to hear from you. Email us at aslongasimlivingpodcast@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at aslongasimlivingpodcast. We'll get back to you as soon as our grieving brains allow.
Yay!